Let all the savage shamans of the world unite as we come together in another video. Multidimensional March. Let's get it. Day 7. Last night we did an amazing channeling for Shani, the god of Saturn. Okay? And wow, that was an incredible, like, moments after when I channeled it, I just felt this confusion energy of like, wow, this is bewildering. The experience was bewildering because it was an experimental frequency for me, first and foremost. I've never channeled Saturn before or any of these planetary energies or frequencies before. When I started to notice the power of that, and I entrained myself before I go into these states, and I just let myself prepare a little bit. So I've just been prepping yesterday night for this channeling, and it went along. It was amazing. It was actually amazing. As I'm listening to the recording, a lot of gold nuggets are connecting, and I'm seeing a bigger picture. And I think that's what I'm supposed to be doing, right? I'm supposed to be seeing the bigger picture and then seeing the details and then finding the bridge in between. Okay, the complexity and the simplicity, and coming together to make it easily digestible by people, this kind of information. So flow state has always been my magnum opus, right? Something that I've been creating my entire life. I'm a flow state specialist. I have a background in positive psychology. If you're new to the channel, welcome. Hit that subscribe button. And if you are familiar with me and you know me and you've done a few channeling sessions, or if you've experienced what we offer at Primal Sutra, you understand that it's such a powerful understanding of, we don't work with any evil beings in the sense of, we work with darker beings, but evil is the lack of source or light. And that's all that means. So these beings, they're just on a different spectrum, like just lower in the spectrum, like further away from source. And the further you go away from source, like all the way to the end, they have power of manipulation and deceit and illusion, way more holographic nature. Okay, so, you know, when we do things for our own ego or our own greed or our own bloodlust or our own lust or our own like gratification or validation, right? It brings us closer to the Maya, to the illusion of the physical material world, right? And so the yogic understanding would be that evil or the devil is present within you, right? So is God. And it's the Deva Asura combo within all of us, which allows us to explore shadow work and light work, okay? Now, what I'm telling you here is what I discovered last night, which is the power of inner child healing, which was discovered. Now, we got a very particular light code. If you want the recording to that channeling, by the way, let's see what's coming up for me. Yeah, let's make them all $18. I don't want to make them too pricey for you guys, so you don't want to, you know, if you can't afford it, or if you're from a low socioeconomic status, because this is kind of social work in a sense that we're doing too. So in a sense, if you want that recording, just shoot over $18 on my PayPal and I'll send you over the recording, or Ryan G, if you can send him. Same thing, he'll just send you over the recording, because it was powerful, man. I started to understand the inner child healing thing a lot greater, because Hanuman and Ganesha, that combo of both of them, like father, like son, you know, you understand that. Anjaneya, right? Anjaneya is the form of Ganesha, where it's half Ganesha, half Hanuman, and that's the light code that we received yesterday. But yeah, basically, you know what I realized? That you know how I have blonde hair, right? I just realized, like, I picked together some puzzle pieces because I was looking through my childhood and my subconscious mind was coming up quite a lot. And it was the idea was brought about in Gathering 2, where we're discussing this idea of Shakti flow, right? Shakti flow is this feminine essence, or this basically energy, right? It's just basically energy, and what makes your energy rise basically in your body, right? There's certain things that are Shakti flow and there's certain things that are Shakti crash, right? It dims it down, it, you know, suppresses it or limits it, makes you feel worse. And oftentimes, you notice communication does this to you, right? Communication can create more Shakti flow or less Shakti flow, right? We were talking about karma a lot yesterday too, on how, you know, charitable action from the deepest part of our heart without any expectation can create good karma. However, when we're doing it for some ulterior motive or when we have some kind of agenda or this kind of, then now you're adding maya or a layer of illusion over the gratitude or the charitability or any of these. Like, it becomes a virtue signaling act rather than virtuous. You get what I mean? So we were exploring a lot of this, and you know, I understand that what you say is the avatars, right? The avatars are these entities. Basically, the avatars makes God's personality visible. Okay, look at all these gods, right? Strength, valor, courage, you know, dignity, nobility. Like these qualities are God-like qualities, right, within you. So these are qualities in your personality that you can carry within yourself. And then there's also dark qualities within yourself, okay? Maybe you have a little bit of deceit in you. Maybe you have a little bit of, you know, this side of people-pleasing or this illusory or false self thing that you keep doing. That's a part of you too, and you can't deny that. You can't suppress that and, you know, copy, paste, and edit it and make it like a Photoshop equation in the internal world. You got to accept it, bro. You got to truly accept it. And one thing is, you got to also understand that, of course, Shakti is the female aspect of God, you know, Maya or Prakriti. You've also got to understand that Vishnu represents space and Shiva represents time. So space-time continuum is the Shiva-Vishnu dance. Of course, Brahma is the creation aspect, and that's his job. However, you also understand that Shiva is there to balance the good and evil within. So space in itself is finding a way to balance these lower densities with these higher densities, right? That's what your mind is doing too. So how are you going to work with these different deities and things like this, right? I just want to get into this a little bit and how I got into it. So the way I want you to understand it is you're a company, your spiritual understanding of a company. And a company has different employees who do different things. They have different functions, different jobs, different departments, correct? So there's someone who does human resources, there's someone who does sales, there's someone who does management, and so forth. Just like that, these deities that you choose to work with, or sometimes they find you, these entities find you first. Then you can start to basically hire them. Or, I mean, like a hiring would be like either you have some form of a connection with them and they can help you out. Sometimes it's better to have a pact or some kind of a contract with them, which is very, it's a lot simpler than it looks, or it actually is, because it's all based on magical intention, and we've been doing this for a very long time, okay, as well. I think it's very powerful when you can understand that I have this company full of badasses, you know, supporting my mission and supporting my journey, right? I have a sales team, I have a marketing team, right? And this is, of course, a metaphor, right? There's no actual deities that are helping me with sales, you know? But we do have wealth frequencies that we work with, like Kubera, or let's just say the mongoose energy of the animal totems. And as I say all of these things, you guys, some of you guys are just getting completely lost, or you're like, what are you talking about, right? So I don't want to make it so authentic that you're completely lost and you have no idea what I'm talking about, right? So I'm going to give you some context here. So we work with this concept called pleasure alchemy. Okay, pleasure alchemy is this idea that you can transform any negative, lower vibrational energy into a higher positive version, okay? So let's say, for instance, wrath, like you're wrathful about someone because you care about that situation to make it correct, right? And so you're finding a way to get your needs met, but it's coming across in this manipulative way. And so once you understand that, now you have power over it to transmute it, to make it greater, to see it from a different angle, to almost put it through a filter or a strainer, right? Where what happens when you put rice through a strainer, phosphorus through a strainer, right? All the gunk kind of comes out of it. And that's what you want to be doing with yourself, is process all of the emotional gunk that's there in the system. This is what we do with our energy healing and things like that too. So we're mainly focused on healing, manifestation, and the last one is a very unique quality. It's this quality of basically creating a method along with the wisdom, okay? Which is going with the Vajrayana principles, okay? Of the Vajra and the bell, which is the masculine and feminine aspect, okay? So this is really powerful stuff, man. And the more I've been looking into this, the more I've been just coming into this understanding and awakening of this. Today is Holy, I believe Holy is tomorrow as well, as far as I've checked. It's the 8th, today's the 7th. And it feels right. And it's a full moon tonight. So in order to prep for the full moon, I highly recommend you write down all of your burdens, all of the things that are holding heavy, that you're holding it really heavy in your heart, okay? Like just things that you feel like, this doesn't feel good in my system in this timeline right now. So in your timeline, there's certain things that are like almost pulling you back, right? Like either a slingshot or like an arrow, right? Just being pulled back, and it's holding you back. But once you let them go, you fling into a different timeline. You fling into almost a different location. You've got to be directive with it. That's why I'm saying the analogy of the slingshot or the arrow, because you got to know where your focus is, okay? What is you being the walking embodiment of wealth? Is that your ultimate self-realization journey on this planet? Okay? Is it something else? What are you really seeking that is underneath the wealth? What are you really seeking, right? We have to get to the subconscious. The iceberg analogy is perfect for this, which keeps coming up again and again for us. I don't know why, right? That symbolism keeps coming up of the subconscious iceberg, right? What is truly hidden, the shadow work. It's the shadow work that sank the Titanic. It wasn't the tip, right? So once you understand that, nature has been exploited by all of us. We try to pillage its resources, and we try to, litter, and animals are going extinct and things like this. You get what I mean? So we've been mistreating the planet for so long that, of course, Mama Gaia, or, all of these different nature beings or nature spirits or elementals, and all of them are frustrated with this energy. They're going, why is this happening, right? Like, why can't we just look after this planet? You get what I mean? And so maybe you're not just passionate about it, but you don't see the link. You see, it's got to be meaningful to you, right? I'll give you an example. So the Nagas are these serpentine creatures, right, that protect the lineage, and they live in Pataloka, and they're very revered and sacred beings in a sense, where they protected the Buddha, right? Or they've protected the god of Shiva, right? These Nagas were actually very protective in their nature. I believe to have come from a Naga lineage, as well as Ryan G, from this Primal Sutra pathworking. As we've been through this process, we've begun to discover this is what we're doing, this is who we are, and therefore we've known some things about ourselves, right? One, we want to help the youth of the planet, connected to IMC Nation, protecting the youth, the children and the future. Number two, you got to understand water. The Nagas are there to preserve water. Now, a lot of the water stuff that you see out there is also part of like a lot of pyramid scheme stuff, right? The Kangen companies, the different companies, alkaline water, all this kind of stuff. Water is a very big issue, right? And clean water around the world is really something that we truly believe in. And because water is life, right? It is what represents life. And water is also the theme of flow. Be like water goes into Bruce Lee, and all of these different concepts. I'm a water sign, right? There's layers to my motivation. You get what I mean? So yes, there's a motivation. Yeah, I'll, you know, give clean water and, you know, maybe help out some orphanages and things like this in the future. And, you know, what are we going to do with our wealth? You know, how are we going to give back with our wealth? That's important too, right? Because with our wealth, if we're just like, okay, cool, yeah, we have a car, it looks nice, but how does it fit into the storyline or the bigger picture? You see, everything is very context specific, and everything has a justification, okay? So you buy a black car because of a particular connection with you and tourmaline, and, you know, it leads you to have a specific kind of music that you play on the radio, which says something about your personality. So again, if we can look at our lives like I'm just emanating these God aspects of my personality and demon aspects of my personality, and I'm cultivating both of them at the same time, and I know what to use in what moment, right? One moment I need Godfidence, one moment I need demon time, right? One moment I need to tap into this essence of higher, you know, positive frequency and light, and sometimes I do need the help of the darkness in order to equalize something, or find the equilibrium again, or find a different angle or an approach which will help me find the right pocket or the right key to unlock in the mystery, right? So a lot of the times when you work with these beings, they give you clues. It'll show up in your dreams, it'll show up in synchronicities, and it'll just start to stack, you know? You can do this by finding the N or the specific mantra of the being and repeating that over and over again and making that natural to you. Also, playing around with gamma waves if you're into channeling or evocation is to really practice listening to gamma waves. I listen to it before I channel as well, and I'm soon perfecting a channeling program for, you know, certain people who are interested, because I think we've got this thing almost down to a science. It's a little bit difficult, but again, we'll be taking on a few apprentices, and also I'm interested in giving some paid internships out. So if you are interested in working for me, if you love the channel, you know, you want to come down, do a residency, stay with me, learn from me, I'm open to these things too, and I think they will slowly be forming. As you know, we're also going to be doing a retreat in Costa Rica. We're going to be exploring a lot of cool things, and yeah, the topic is going to be incredible. We also have Savage Shaman seminars, which we're still setting up. We're getting the details of that, but we have the poster ready finally. And yeah, we're ready to talk about some deep topics there too, similar to this, but it's going to be more focused in terms of that pathwork, right? So let me check the time. Okay, so let's talk about how today you can become the radiant one, the golden one, okay? You've got to realize your own God-given talents and essence, and sometimes talent brings us away from the actual obsession, the hard work, you know, the effort that we put into something. When we say talent, it almost takes away from that, like, oh, it's been God-gifted, or you've just been blessed, in a sense, right? Now, sometimes these things might even be true, like you might have been blessed, like, many generations ago, or, you know, you might have like past lives that go on. And what we're learning along this process is that, in a sense, sometimes there are these invisible threads from a past life just like showing up in this present life in some random metaphor occurrence in one circumstance, right? And we can't even see this, and we only understand like maybe 1/4 of all of this, like even with the science and the tech that we have today, right? In terms of advancement and things like this. So, you know, I constantly remind myself to put myself into the frequency of positive optimism and creation, okay? And the way I do this is, let's say I'm sitting down to work. I know that my mind is going to be distracted by certain things, okay? I write it down on my not to-do list. I'm thinking of this again. I make my mind more conscious in different ways and give it triggers, give it prompts, right? Like there's a prompt for me to meditate, to do something. Like a question in my mind that I'm pondering over, and I'm And I'm using that statement in my mind, which I don't have a closure to, and I sit with that and meditate on that particular question, right? These are like the similar concept to the prompts of like Zen koans, and things like this, right? Where you have a specific statement in your mind, like if a tree falls in the forest and it doesn't make a noise, and there's no one around to hear it, doesn't make a noise, right? So these kinds of, questions, they let the mind think in a very specific way. So right now you're getting my understanding of my flow state frequency. You've been on this channel. Maybe you're new, maybe you've been on it for a while. Maybe you're like, yo, this is fascinating. It's my frequency from India, and you're hearing the music in the background and everything, and the tilak and the vibe, and like the Rudraksh beads, and like you're getting this frequency coming from me. But then you also have your own independent frequency and energy that's being established with my energy together. And from the third energy is being created a new set point for you. You get what I mean? And this is with any mentor you watch. Let's say that you're watching Grant Cardone. Not that I'm a huge fan of that guy, but you know what I mean? Like, hey, some people are like, 10x, okay? So let's take him as an example, right? Like if you're watching this guy and you're finding yourself drawn to his energy or whatever it is, right? Maybe you're an entrepreneur, or maybe you feel like, wow, this is really gonna, pull me along and make my life greater in some sense. It's your energy plus Grant's energy that creates a third essence. You've got to focus on that third essence, okay? In order for you to actually pull through that. Because if you go too much into Grant's energy, you'll take away from your own. If you go too much into your own energy, you will never learn from Grant. You get what I mean? So as a student of a master, of an art form, of a teaching, whatever it is, a craft, you've got to not only merge with the teacher, but understand that the merging, the action awareness, the pockets of both of these people, the subject and object, merging together, of the craft and the person, right? The painter and the painting merge and flow. The rock climber becomes the rock they're climbing. The snowboarder becomes the snow. Okay, you become a part of the process. It feels like you're infinity in that. You are whole and complete within that task, right? So it's an absolute. It feels like a source connection. It feels like a lightning bolt or a vajra connecting you to source. So, two people's energy combining, let's say you're in a relationship, a male energy and a female energy, or even if you're, LGBTQ, X, Y, Z, in that sense, you still have masculine and feminine energy, right? It's not so much about gender, but it's more so about the energies and how they function well together, right? So, you want to really look at this, not stereotypically like, oh, it's just like that, or, it is what it is, but really, males communicate differently, females communicate differently. I'm sure you guys know this. There's girl code, right? There's girl code with your girls where you just go and you say something and you can't, talking to a guy, you got to tell your friend about it. Like there's certain rules, right, that you know, and it's almost like socially known rules in a sense, but again, who's making up these rules, right? It's just culture kind of morphing and moving like molasses over time that just kind of makes all these rules up, like in the social market, right? And in the mating market as well. So you got to understand that, hey, I'm from Mars, this is from Venus. I'm going to be into fighting and, fucking shit up and just going forward and just trailblazing, like going in my own path and following through on the mission. But the person who's following through on the mission, there's also got to be an amplification energy, a feminine energy, right? Buddha's wife taking care of his empire when he knew that, Buddha was a king. So, hey, to take care of the empire so he can go do his awakening thing. And is Ma Parvati, who originally, she was Sati, right? And then she came back as Ma Parvati because she was complete. So the secret to all relationships is what we learned from last night's channeling, is the secret to a good relationship is complete freedom. Okay? And these are separate by themselves. So complete meaning that you're complete by yourself. There's no other half business, right? And freedom in the sense of you're allowed to do what you want to do in this lifetime, and the other person is supportive of that in a sense. Okay? So when a relationship becomes too claustrophobic, full of so many rules, full of walking on eggshells, inauthenticity, right? Pretending to be these false versions of these two people, these false selves communicating, right? Like I remember once that, you know, I cut my hair in a very specific way, and then my partner at the time was saying like, why did you shave the sides of your head like that? Like you look bald, you know? This is a challenge, right? In that moment. How would you have responded to that, okay? In that sense. Because me as a man, I'm not gonna, like in that moment, I just kind of went with it. We got into an argument, but now looking back, now that I'm older, wiser, more understanding, I realized this was some projection from her, okay? From her reality that's coming through. She's worried about what her friends might think of me. And now, you know, that whole reality is emanating outwards in order to create some kind of, you know, distortion in the physical world, which showing up in this argument with me, right? However, it has nothing to do with me. That's the thing, right? Like I could make my hair orange for all it matters. Like it doesn't matter to another person that I'm with, right? What matters is the frequency and the energy of what we're building together. It's not the physical illusory vessel of like, oh, you grew a mole on your nose, so I no longer love you. Like what kind of fake love is that? Okay? So you've got to understand that you can't let the powers flip on you. The powers of the unseen world, these beings, these energies, it can make you very suspicious, it can make you very paranoid, it can make you seem schizophrenic, it can make you feel completely frazzled, like you learn from some guru and then they disappear and then they're hard to reach, okay? These things happen. So you want to be really smart about this thing. And you want to slow it down, okay? I do know that I do preach about this idea of Kriya and like fast realization and enlightenment now, you know, and Vajrayana, the fastest, you know, lightning bolt path. And yes, I do mention all of these things, but that's what I'm doing there is I'm getting you to not create this bridge of a difference. If you call it your dreams, it's up here, it's not tangible, right? It's not something that you can actually use and utilize. So we call them attunements at Primal Sutra. We call them activations. So flow state activation is merely you understanding that flow state is within my reality and my understanding. Okay, someone asked me a question, you know, I don't know how to get into flow state. Some people say it's a soft focus. Some people say it's keep focusing and go and go and go. And some people just, you know, let it all go and just be one and just go with the flow, right? And you get confused. What am I really supposed to do? Okay? The thing is, it's for different parts of, for different people according to your own journey, because flow is a very personalized thing, right? How can one artist who's studying Impressionism, you know, teach some other, I mean, this is where things get interesting, but let's say, you know, that expressionist suddenly inspires like, you know, a composer of a song. That's going to be very different of an understanding, right? It's two different worlds meeting, and it's like a third frequency, like I was talking about, the third element that gets created from that. And focusing on that third, you being one choice point, and you always have a choice between your theme, my theme is flow, and illusion, distortion, okay? It's just not true. It's, you know, what you would say is like lower consciousness, it's just false, okay? So what I mean by that is not that it's false in a sense, but it's more illusory, it's more transparent, it's more artificial, you get what I mean? So it's not as real as peace and love and enlightenment and the higher like states of consciousness, right? So we are kind of somewhere in between, and sometimes we rise and we drop depending on different energies. We're really acting from reason one day, maybe we're really acting from love another day, maybe we're feeling a little bit of fear. So our vibration is going like this. We have a baseline and a number, like maybe we're resonating at 220, right, or something like this. But then we can sometimes have different events that kind of spike it up or spike it down, and then create this thing. Well, I kind of relate it back to the science of like the happiness baseline in a sense, but then we also have like a mystical baseline too, where we keep growing in our mystical powers and our, you know, psychic abilities over time as we start repeating it. So I said in one of my videos, right, don't be sus, be sustainable, right? When you're being sus, when you're hiding, when you're like not speaking about your process, when you're doing everything like a solo monk, like in a cave, in the middle of nowhere, separate, creating the separateness away from everything. Of course, you have the time and the space, you have the Vishnu and the Shiva to help you do that, right? And that's what you're trying to implement with that abode or that sanctum. You're really trying to create an inner sanctum. So my theory is more so like, let me create an inner sanctum wherever I go. So I could be in the busy streets of New York and I can still feel zen. I don't need like a, you know, some kind of a Shangri-La cave or like a bed, bath, and breakfast place to feel relaxed, right? I don't need a hotel with the right like little piece of napkin or like mints on the bed to feel good about myself. You get what I mean? Like, I don't need all these prerequisites. Like, if you ever watched that show, Dubai Bling or whatever, right? Like, some of the women, they have so many prerequisites, right? But why don't we have a walk-in closet like this? Okay? Like, whoa, calm down, okay? Like, it's not the end of the world. You have all these amazing shoes. Have some gratitude for this. Okay, yeah. It's like, you know, the wife is like complaining to her husband, like who's a billionaire, right? And the husband is, okay, dear, all right, you know? And that's really sad to see. That to me shows a lack of imagination. That man has a lack of imagination. That's why he's struggling in life. You get that? Because he's worried of what his wife might think. That's a lack of imagination. He can't use his communication and delivery and creativity to come up with a solution to actually remain powerful in that relationship, where he decides and sets some boundaries like, look, we don't need another, you know, broom closet. Okay, we have what we have right here. And hey, if that's really something meaningful for you, and I believe in it as well, and we come together, of course we'll get a broom closet, right? And look at that difference between that frequency and, okay, dear, all right. You know, it's almost like you're allowing her to wear the pants of the relationship. It's like, here, let me take my pants off. You can have them. Okay, that's what a lot of people are doing. They're giving up their own power, right? They're just sacrificing their own power. It's same with women in relationships, right? You see this guy, you're attracted to the Shiva archetype, the rebel, the one who lives in the mountain, the one who lives in the cave, the one who's away from all the noise, the way, you know? But why do women who want to get married or want, you know, relationships, why do they pray to Shivaji? Is because Mahadeva or Shiva is associated with that aspect of complete freedom, like I was saying. That's the masculine frequency, is freedom. Because it's consciousness itself, you see? The presence itself. So that divine masculine quality, right, of that complete freedom. Women pray to Shiva in order for them to actually get closer to Ma Parvati and her frequency, which is, I'm a woman and I'm going to support this man in his quest for complete freedom. In his quest for complete freedom, I will be supportive and by his side. Okay? Now, I have my own quest for complete freedom too, right? But when it becomes this power dynamic of like, I'm trying to prove something, or my ego's bigger, and, you know, these two egos butting heads and clashing, alpha female with alpha male energy, you know, coming together, it's like it creates collision, right? It's like two alpha guys in an environment. You know, there's going to be some level of confrontation and collision. Because there's something happening at a biological evolutionary level too that we're not seeing. Right? There's some invisible world that is being depicted through this process. So this third element that I'm mentioning to you guys, really pay attention to this. Imagine your third eye and all your friends' third eye, or let me just say in terms of my pathworking, collective Primal Sutra, imagine all our third eyes connected into one eye. Okay, eye. Okay, this is the information, right? Where you ask, the questions are the feminine, the answers are the masculine. You get what I mean? Questioning the universe, what is the meaning of life? That's a feminine curiosity. It's a discovery. But the answer is what already exists, the Brahman, the substrate, the consciousness itself. Holds everything together. So the feminine is going through this tsunami wave of emotion. This Kali, exotic, wild, feminine, eros energy. And I don't know, and I'm having my period, and I'm... A man can come through with that yang essence. You're like, do you need anything? Let me go to the store. Let me get you a pad. Let me do this. Hold on 1 second. I have the answers for this. Boom, 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 boom. And that's why problem solving is so attractive. That's why enhancing somebody's mood is very attractive. These are different archetypes that we're tapping into. Boom, boom, boom. You can learn more about this through our channeling, okay? And our programs. And we even accept donations, right? I see some people donate. That's amazing, guys. Thank you so much. We appreciate this. You know, if any of these videos have helped you, if you want to donate, please go ahead, you know. Again, this is all from our heart and soul. We're a soul-based, heart-based collective first. So we're focused mainly on healing and transcending and giving you the help that you need. And then from there, the little extra things that start to top up. Almost like how your phone needs a top up sometimes, you know. We need an energetic attunement at times just to keep in that frequency. Have the reminders, you know, little signposts along your journey. Someone nudging you in the right direction, like, bro, come on. You know, don't eat Pringles again for the, you know, 1100th time. You're good. You're good without it. You're fine without it. You're enough without it. You're satisfied without it. Your belly doesn't need to be filled with this thing. It feels good in the moment, it's not going to feel so good afterwards, right? So this is what I'm speaking to you. I hope you resonate with this message. Let's get it today. Upward Spiral Gang. May we never be the same again. Hit that like, notification bell, everything. Just, yeah, let's get it, all right? I'll speak to you guys soon. Thank you for listening for this long. I really love speaking my mind openly like this. It's a powerful expression. It's a powerful feeling to be able to do this and share it with everybody on the planet like this. Also, it's really dope how that Benson meme blew up, and now I have new, you know, followers on my Instagram, even though I'm not getting as much likes because I'm shadow banned, because I talk about some controversial things at times, but that's all good. If you want to give my Instagram a follow and you know, check it out, I see some of you, okay? Meiji, I see you. I see a bunch of you, you know, on my Instagram too, showing up. So that's cool. Have an incredible day. Let's get it. Us. Lifetimes of bliss. Let's go.